What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. Well, we are back, you guys, for another Ultimate Girls Trip. Okay, it is down to the Peacock. It's down to the Peacock channel. So I was making sure my volume was good because sometimes the volume be off. But it is down to the Peacock channel. And let's talk about who's on this season. So we have Portia from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, Leah from New York, Alexia and Marisol from Miami, Whitney and Heather from Salt Lake City, and Giselle and Candace from Potomac. And from the very beginning, what's very interesting is that these ladies have relationships, good, bad, or indifferent, from their seasons that are carrying over. We know that Whitney and Heather fell out on their season. They're cousins. They were best friends, and they had a really bad season where they fell out. We know that Giselle and Candace, we definitely know that they had an explosive season that we just came off of from Potomac. Now, let me say this before a bunch of people start commenting on, why is Candace being so friendly to Giselle? And how could she do that? And I thought they didn't like each other. And she was giving her the business at the reunion, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I tell y'all this all the time. This is a business and it is a job. And at the end of the day, Candace signed on to going halfway around the world to Thailand. And she knew Giselle was going to be there, and she got to make the best of it. It is what it is. I'm not saying that they friends or they like each other, but I'm saying that they're going to do it for the coin, okay? It is what it is. Now, Portia, if I remember correctly, wasn't somebody else supposed to do it, and Portia was, and they dropped out, and Portia was added at the last minute? I don't remember who it was, but somebody else I think was supposed to be there. And we know Portia has, not been doing Atlanta for a while, and so she's excited. She's like, listen, I've been watching as a viewer for so long that it's exciting for me to kind of come in and get back in the bubble. Now, they are going to Thailand, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. It's on my list of places to visit, and so I'm a little jealous. Now, we find out that they have their own concierge at the villa where they're staying, which is more like a mansion. His name is Pepsi. Now, listen, they need to go on and give Pepsi a show, okay? Pepsi is hilarious. They need to go on and give him a show like Below Deck or something. Him running these villas and being the concierge for these rich people that come through. Pepsi is funny. He said he learned how to speak English by watching American movies. He said, and not once. I watched them over and over and over again. I said, I know that's right, Pepsi. So what we find out is that they started filming literally 2 days after Jen Shaw pled guilty. So, of course, that is going to play into the whole Heather aspect of it, Whitney aspect of it. Now, Heather, let me say this to you, girl. Heather used to be my favorite on Salt Lake City. Now, y'all know last season, that sort of switched up for me because I ain't like how Heather was moving. But here's what I'm saying. After one episode, Heather, girl, I need you to go find yourself. I need you to go find yourself, find your identity. Stop being so caught up on being a Bravo celebrity and trying to get, she's in awe of Portia because she's got 7 million subscribers and followers. And, oh, I want to room with you because you've got 7 million followers and all that. Girl, go find your own identity. Like, Bravo can be very lucrative for those who work it, but you gotta find your own because we, as the viewer, we see through fake. We see through the BS. So you have to be very proactive in finding your identity. But we're gonna get deeper into that. I'm gonna cut through the flight and all that good stuff, child. They was on the plane for 20 hours, okay? We get to the house and everybody shows up. Once they get there, they gotta walk up a hill, child. Now, I don't know how they got their luggage in the house, but we see them getting lost and walking up this hill, and they finally get to the top, and Pepsi is there to greet them with a non-alcoholic drink. Although they have a fully stocked bar, and he can make whatever they want. And so everybody is coming in, how they do. So we see that Marisol, Alexia, and Candace are riding in a Sprinter together, but everybody else sort of arrived, separately. Now, the first thing they had to do was bless the spirit house. Now, they said that in Thailand, everybody has 2 houses. They have their house, and then they have a spirit house, and that is where the spirits go. And then every morning, they're supposed to, I guess, give blessings or ask for blessings from the spirit house. So they did the ceremony where they all had to ask for something, Candace said that she don't want to lose her edges, But it was what it was. Now, what I found interesting was, Marisol and Alexia, one, they're friends in real life, and they're really good friends in real life. Both of them speak Spanish, and so they do this Spanglish thing where they sort of talk to each other English, they switch over to Spanish. They do it on the show on Miami, and they put up the little the subtitle and everything. Giselle gonna tell them they can't do it. First thing she said, "Oh, there'll be no to that. You can't speak Spanish." I want to know what y'all are talking about. I want to make sure you're not talking about me. Now, the first time she said it, they kind of paid it. They acknowledged that she said it, but they kind of let it go over their head, like, all right, whatever, like, you ain't gonna tell me I can't speak Spanish, like, girl, what? But later on in the episode, it comes up again, and then they kind of get her together. But we'll get to that. I wrote, Whitney looked to Giselle. Oh, and when Whitney was giving her blessing, she said something about not wanting to have no drama, and she's gonna turn around and look at Giselle. Now, listen, I think Giselle is just as shady as the next person, and y'all know how I feel about Miss Gizzy. But all of y'all can be shady. Like, if you was gonna say something, but shady, girl, all of y'all are shady as hell. But I thought that was interesting that she turned to look at Giselle. Now, because Pepsi gave everybody a room, that eliminated the whole drama and fighting over rooms, which, thank you so much. One thing I cannot stand is seeing these grown-ass people fighting over a damn room. Now, Leia's room is not as cute as the rest of the rooms, and Leia was like, well, do you have something against me? Like, why did you give me the smallest room? And Pepsi was like, Diva, like, I see you coming a mile away, Miss Diva. Now, her room was significantly smaller. Like, it was a nice room. It was. But that is a beautiful home. And compared to some of the other rooms, I mean, they have rooms that overlook the pool and the ocean and all these other amenities. And girl, her shower didn't even have a shower curtain. So I don't think she was being bougie in that moment or being difficult. Like, I probably would have been looking around like, now, the reality is all the rooms can't be that. But I would be thinking, well, how did I get the short end of the stick? I don't know if I would have voiced it. But I would have asked for a shower curtain. Now. Anyway, so Portia and Giselle, of course, they love each other because they did the Bravo chat room together. So they already have a relationship. They're happy to see each other. I think Candace was worried. Whitney was worried about Candace because I think Candace said Whitney was the boring housewife or vice versa. So she was worried about Candace coming for her. Leia had met Giselle. I think they had done Project Runway together. So that some of them had relationships, but I think Marisol and Alexia were probably the two that knew each other the least. Knew other people the least. They know each other well, but, knew other people the least. So, of course, as soon as Whitney arrives, they want to talk about Jen Shaw, but they were like, well, let's wait for Heather to get here. And Whitney was like, yeah, because that's her girl. Like, that's the one she's been riding for all these years. That's the one that she threw me away for. So, yeah, y'all talk to her about her girl pleading guilty. Y'all talk to her about her homegirl. And Giselle was like, well, we know that Jen wasn't telling the truth. Jen isn't capable of telling the truth. She's been lying for 2 years. And the thing is this, nobody believed that Jen Shaw was innocent. Even clearly, Jen Shaw didn't believe she was innocent. And Heather still is hesitant to say that Jen Shaw lied. Like, she still don't want to say it. So Heather gets there, and of course, before she can get comfortable, they jump on her about Jen Shaw. And of course, she said, listen, I'm still processing. Like, I was in New York with her. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of this. I'm still processing the whole thing myself. And yes, it's a lie. And they were asking her, well, did you believe her? Well, did you think about this? Did you think she was going to do this? And yada, yada, yada. And she was just like, look, I gave y'all what I got. I gave y'all what I got, And she was like, dang, like, they just jumped on me. Like, I didn't get a chance to really sit down good, and they just jumped on me. So later on, the ladies are kind of doing their own thing. And so Candace is talking to Leia and Whitney. And she's letting them know, listen, me and Giselle, we ain't going to beat each other up. We ain't going to claw each other's eyes out. But don't trust her. Don't tell her none of your personal business. She is an architect of chaos, she said. She is dedicated to chaos and do not trust her. So, we already, again, like I said, Candace is playing nice. But she know who Giselle is, and she know what Giselle is capable of, and, it is what it is. Now, Whitney is hosting the first lunch, right? So everybody's kind of getting freshed up. I said, daggone, I hope they slept on the train. On the plane, because they are hitting the ground running. So everybody kind of has time to, like I said, freshen up or whatever. And they're getting together for the lunch. And Heather leans over to Giselle on the couch because Leia's coming. She said, hey, y'all, let's get Leia drunk. And I don't know Leia. I don't watch New York, so I don't know Leia. But what we find out is Leia is sober. And Heather said it as a joke. But there's some things you just don't joke about Heather. And Heather already mentioned in her confessional that she's going to use her humor to get her through because in all reality, she is intimidated by being in this group of women. Like, she's intimidated. She feels like she doesn't fit. And so she's going to use her humor. And even if it's a bad joke, she's going to... So you leaning over to Giselle, who, of all people, Giselle, and say, hey, y'all, let's get Leia drunk. Of course, Giselle gonna say something about it because Giselle knew enough to know, wait a minute, I don't know about that one. And so what made it even worse was Heather was like, yeah, I read your book. Leia was like, okay, wait a minute. So you read my book and you still want to get me drunk? Like, what? Like, that's not something to play with. Like, my sobriety isn't a joke. And in that moment, Heather should have just said, you know what? It was a bad joke. I was joking. I was trying to be funny, but it was a bad joke. I'm sorry. But again, now you're embarrassed. Now you don't know what you said. You don't, and you kind of let it linger. So y'all know how stuff goes on the Housewives. It's gonna stick. Y'all know how they do stuff. It's gonna stick. So they're at lunch, and Giselle is playing executive producer. So here she's asking people about being on the show, being a housewife, what it means to you, kind of thing. So Portia told her story about, when she first got on the show, and how after season 2 she was divorced and broke, and she figured out, I gotta monetize this. Like, I became an instant celebrity, but now I gotta monetize this. And that's when she started doing club hostings and stuff like that. She said, and then she was like, then I had to figure out how to make a business out of it. She said, and then when I decided I was gonna, she said retire, child. Anyway, when I decided I was going to leave, I had to make sure that what I had could stand alone outside of Housewives so it could still be lucrative. Now, all that sound good. That sound good. Leia talked about being on her season and how hard it was for her, being a New York housewife, being misunderstood, and going through the things that she went through. She said last season was really, really hard for her. Now, I didn't watch none of the seasons, so I don't know what happened to her, child. Then we get into the Whitney and Heather conversation. Now listen, I'm only going to say this to y'all because some of y'all might not watch Salt Lake City and you looking at the Ultimate Girls Trip and you have found this review. So I'm really only, I feel like I'm going to have to say this more than once, but let me say this. Here's what I believe happened. I do believe that Heather heard that rumor. But I also believe that in that moment, Heather was not willing to co-sign on that rumor because she really, truly was trying to build a relationship with these women and she didn't want to go there. Whitney absolutely was trying to create a moment. And she got mad at Heather because Heather would not back her up and say, yeah, girl, I heard the rumor. Now, the rumor is stupid. Allegedly, Lisa Barlow was given sexual favors for her company getting great things, okay? And so I just feel like, at this point, Heather's not going to change what she said. But if you watch the season, in my opinion, Heather said enough for me to believe that Heather did hear that damn rumor. But Whitney, I think you also have to accept the fact that your intentions were not pure. You were trying to create chaos. You were trying to create a TV moment, which is what they accused you of in this conversation. And Alexia was like, well, look, that's messed up. If you were sacrificing your friendship with Heather to create a TV moment, that's messed up. Like, that's messed up on your part. And, basically, I can't co-sign that bullshit, So, then Giselle shut it down and was like, look, all right, that's enough of that. Because they got to, arguing back and forth. Now, Giselle, you started this shit, which is what the producers told her. But Giselle was like, yeah, but then I'm done with it. So they had about an hour to rest, and then they had to go to dinner. Now, I'm like, damn, did y'all just eat lunch? And then y'all just get off of a 20-hour flight? Like, ain't nobody gonna let y'all take a nap. Now, I feel like they maybe had longer of a break than what it seemed like they had. But I feel like they said we gotta be ready in an hour. I'm like, God darn. So, and I was thinking, are they taking them sightseeing? Because they literally just ate lunch. Now, it was a light lunch, but it was lunch. So, they getting ready to go. Child, they end up leaving Candace because Candace wasn't ready to go. They texted her. They called her. Candace was taking her sweet time. Everybody was dressed. So, they left her, child. Now, of course, they bought Candace, and she was... I will say she handled it well. She did call them some dusty hoes for leaving her, but she did it in her Candace way, and it kind of was what it was. So at the table, in the Sprinter on the way there, they got to talking about Heather and her being in awe of these followers and trying to, find her way in the housewife universe. And Whitney was like, yeah, she sort of lost her way, and I feel like she's trying to impress people, or she's like starstruck, and she doesn't know how to find her own identity. Like, and she does, her self-confidence seems really, really low. She's talking about how she's not a fashionista and how she's bringing the fashions down, and like it's just like, it's very self-deprecating. And I feel like the Heather of season 1 wasn't this. And I feel like you have been reading the comments and you've been allowing it to get in your head. And you got to stop, Heather. You can't let this stuff stick to you and get in your head. You just can't do it. Then the Spanglish thing came up again, right? So Alexia and Marisol, they shot her down. They were like, listen, and I will say this though, Giselle did explain why it bothers her. She said, because my daughters are proficient in Spanish and they use it to talk to each other, to talk about me, and it pisses me off. So I automatically assume, or I feel like when people are doing it around me, I feel like that's what they're doing. First of all, girl, I'm going to need you to just get over it. Your daughters are going to talk about you in Spanish or in English. Girl, we've seen your daughters on camera. They talk about you in your face in English. What are you talking about, Giselle? Girl, this didn't start. But I feel like that's one of those moments where Giselle is actually giving us something that we didn't already have. And I can appreciate that. Cameraman. Oh, I forgot this part. Cameraman, don't be showing people lifting up their shirt. There was a part where they were outside when they were blessing the spirit house, and Candace lifted her shirt because she was hot and she was wiping the sweat from in her boobage area. For women who have boobs, we understand what that is. All up in the cleavage and all up underneath. That is where the sweat pools when you are hot. Why did y'all get that woman with her shirt up? It wasn't a bathing suit. It wasn't a bikini. It was her bra. And they did it twice. I don't understand why that was in there, and I don't understand why they didn't cut that out. Like, you have 7 other women to film. I didn't like that. And it's not a big deal, and Candace may not even make a big deal about it, and it wasn't, a provocative bra. It was just a bra, but it wasn't a sports bra. It wasn't a bikini or a bathing suit. It was her bra. Why y'all showing that woman in her bra? In a moment where you knew, like, she was wiping sweat. Anyway, it's a small thing, but it bothered me. So Giselle plays a game called Impression Session, where she wants to know everybody's first impression, good and bad. Of course, these games, they're always about drama. They're always about starting drama. And honestly, it felt like everybody was piling on Heather. It started with Heather, and it continued to go. Leia gave Heather the blues because she said, well, first of all, not only did you read my book and you knew about my sobriety, the first thing you said to me when I saw you was, oh my gosh, girl, how are you going to stay sober around these women? I'm going to have to help you. I feel like it's my duty to help you. Baby, Whitney said, she going to tell you she don't remember saying it. Baby, why Heather say, I said that? I said, Lord, I said, Heather, you done it. Number 1, it was already a shitty thing that you did. And number 2, you have just validated everything that Whitney said about you. Because you did exactly what she said you were going to do and say you didn't remember. I said, Heather, you got it. You going to have it rough. So, a lot of people said that their first impression of Heather was not a good impression. I think, who said Giselle? Oh, that's when Alexia said that it was Giselle with the Spanglish situation. Then Portia and Candace got into it about, because Leia started talking about how when she was filming her season, her grandmother was dying and the producers wouldn't let her leave. And they were like, girl, like, first of all, hold on, look, let me make sure that's this episode. I didn't watch. They dropped 4 episodes at one time, child. Let me make sure it's this episode. I might be if I carried over the episode, oh well. But they were like, we have the same. Whitney was like, we have the same production company, and I know those people pretty well. And girl, no, they would have let you go. Like, and she didn't say they kept her hostage, but she's like, nobody said I could leave. Nobody showed any concern for me, and she was getting all upset or whatever. And then they were talking about social media, and Candace was like, yeah, you can't let social media get to you. And Giselle was like, girl, pot called kettle. And she was like, well, I respond to the dusty hoes. And Giselle was like, girl, you gotta stop. Just stop responding. Now, I'm gonna give Giselle credit for that, because Giselle gets drugged up, down, through, in, and out. And I will give her credit that she really don't do a whole lot of back and forth on social media. She really doesn't. Now, she probably turns off her mentions and keeps it moving, but she don't really let all that stuff get to her. And Candace does, but I think it's some age in that. So then Candace and Portia kind of got into it, because Portia said that, you know, her first impression of Candace was whatever, because she felt like Candace, she saw how she felt like Candace shamed Ashley on her show. And Candace was like, listen, I felt like Ashley was coming for me, and she was using the fact that she was a mother and I wasn't as a weapon against me. And so, yes, I lashed out and I fought back because I didn't appreciate it. So then Giselle was like, so Portia was like, well, I think that, you know, you see things, you've grown. And girl, Candace was like, no, that's not it. And Portia was like, well, can I finish? And every time Portia got ready to explain what she felt about Candace, and Candace was like, nope, that ain't it. Nope, that's not what happened. Nope. So she finally was like, Candace said, no, let me tell you. She said something I didn't like, and I said something that was hurtful to her. I have apologized, but I meant what I said when I said it, and I meant how I said it. I said, well. And that's pretty much what the first episode is. Now, Peacock, y'all are dirty, because y'all done dropped 4 damn episodes. So I'm going to have to give it to y'all one at a time, because that's a lot to get through. But we're going to get through it. Now, y'all let me know what y'all think, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.